I appreciate everyone coming tonight, and if I could get a roll call, that'd be great.
Yes, you may. Victor? Here. Chapman?
Here.
Shay?
Here.
Lawrence? Here. What's up?
Here. Okay, if I can get an approval of the monthly meeting minutes for March 14th, 2018.
I make a motion, we approve them with that correction on the second paragraph, let's call it. That is that,
I counted absent. I
Yeah.
counted Victor.
yeah,
She was
Victor was
here.
not absent, so with that correction.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, we need a roll call for that. No, we don't need a roll call, please, vote.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Okay. We have a new system. You can answer to me. Thank you. I like to ask that we approve the audit of the town fund of $95,452.30. Do I have a motion?
You got a motion?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Okay, seeing there's no discussion, roll call vote, please.
Victor?
Yes.
Chapman?
Yes.
Shay?
Yes.
Lawrence? Yes. What's up?
Yes, thank you. Okay. All right. We have asked that we all have the claim to the general assistance fund, which was for $10,520.62. If I can entertain a motion, that'd be great. Mr. Chapman? Second?
Second.
Okay.
Discussion? Victor?
Yes.
Chapman?
Yes.
Shay?
Yes.
What's up?
Yes.
Lawrence? Yes.
Oh, I did want to make one point in there, pointing out on the first one, my getting old. There was $50 added to that number, and that was for the moderator of last night's meeting. So we kind of snuck that in, so I want to point that out. I'm sure it's okay with it. Okay, all right, thank you. All right, we have the Road and Bridge Fund. If I can get someone, would like to audit the Road and Bridge Fund, and that one is for $301,314.46. If I can get a motion, be great.
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, discussion.
I see an invoice. I'd like to have some discussion. I see an invoice, another invoice for legal services for $11,050.25. And I'm wondering what this legal service is. And I also have come to find that Rob Hanlon does not have malpractice insurance. And I think before we pay any more invoices for Rob Hanlon, that I move that he be required to provide the board with evidence of malpractice insurance for the safety of our township.
Okay, so there's two issues here. First issue would be the removal of this bill for $11,000.
Mhm.
Do you have a copy of the bill, or who's, what's that?
It's in the AAB report. I just copied the bill. It's in the AAB.
Which law firm?
He just has under
Just
the
says
legal
legal
services.
services.
Was there something that you saw? No?
I can look.
It seemed like we would have an invoice. So I would say, if we don't have an invoice, I mean,
Why is it in the AAB report?
So it's a
Did anyone see it when they went through it? I didn't see it.
No, I didn't.
But Mr. Supervisor, the, second motion or motion that you made should be under new business, not the audit after elimination.
Okay. Okay.
Well, I'm giving a reason as to why.
I
don't
understand,
wanna
I'm
pay.
just for order purposes.
The A&E report, we had some, obviously our accountant is, swamped in, so it might just be in there as a mistake, and it's our bill.
Mr. Supervisor, what does A and E mean?
Accounts and expenditures.
Accounts and expenses.
Yeah,
For
Appropriation.
audience.
right.
Right, for April 2018.
I don't believe there's a bill in there for that. I would have,
Why is it?
that's okay, I mean,
We need to re-add up everything and see if it's actually part of the resolution or the warrant size.
because we're working off a delay, our A&E reports I know are a little off because we're working on a new budget. But, I don't recall that bill being in there.
I
You,
don't either.
yeah,
If it's not there, then I don't want to approve.
Well, first we need to confirm that it's actually on the warrant sheet. We included it in
And the
the-
A&E report. 1 month ended April 30th, 2018.
I understand.
I mean, we have to,
It's not in any.
we have to have someone calculate the actual,
Mhm.
do you have a list for the, yeah, well, if that's only to check it, and look at the expenditures to see if they can match what your resolution
There's nothing on the check register either that says it.
is. So what is the, I guess the question is, what are the total expenses for, the road and bridge fund?
The road and
Based upon your check register.
the check register plus, Karen will have the total amount on that expenditure for road and bridge. So it's the sum of the check register and then the remaining payroll that is the direct deposit, not an actual check.
Okay, so payroll register,
So what is the total check register?
You guys should all have that too. as well.
290, 279, 73.
Yes.
And you payroll.
And the difference of that is the payroll.
okay, so there's no legal bill. Batch.
Okay, so there was an error.
Well, yeah, we're having trouble reconciling the A&E report
Yeah.
right now because we're in a different fiscal year and according to the computer program, it's not recognizing that until
Right.
we pass the new budget.
Yeah, it's,
Okay.
so I don't know why. I can double check with Mary Miller, our accountant, to find out. But when I look through the whole check register, there's not a check for that amount. So I don't know if it was a check for last month that somehow carried to April's A&E. Because like I said, things aren't flowing over right because of the new year. So I can double check last month's check register to see if there was a check in that amount.
What we really should do is pass a bill against accrual accounting. Because it's one of the hardest things to ever understand, but it's a lot easier to be on a cash basis. Yeah, it does with the payroll and then.
Oh, okay, got it.
So there's no bill in there. I didn't think there was a bill in there for legal. Okay,
I'm just concerned. with
okay,
the-
so otherwise,
Bill on the A&E report.
according to point of order from trustee Lawrence, you can add to that discussion later on that. So we're okay to go ahead and vote on 301 314.46.
I thought they had something.
I thought we had, said that we weren't gonna pay that extra money, the $1,260 to Garrett Discovery for the subsequent, after the audit was done, a second
Is that in this,
search was made, yeah.
is that in this batch bill?
Yeah, yeah. And I know
We paid it, we did pay it last night. It was a 3-2 vote. It was paid. No, it wasn't?
No,
we paid the $8,300, yes, but we didn't pay the second part of it. So we pulled that out, and it looks like you just put it back in this month.
Okay, then, is that in check register again?
Yes.
Okay, then we want to minus that out.
Yes.
Well, no, we can see the vote. Let's let it vote.
Okay.
So you make a motion to minus out the amount.
I move to remove the $1,260.80.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second?
We already have discussion.
Well,
Victor?
no, I don't know.
No,
Does
I'm sorry.
anyone want to have discussion? So if it's a yes vote, you're removing. If it's a no vote, you're staying. Okay?
Okay, Chapman,
Yes.
Victor,
Yes.
Shay,
Yes.
Bledsoe,
Yes.
Lawrence,
No,
Okay. All right. So we need a new number here.
so 1268.
1260.
Thanks.
Just the,
I always figure if the attorney's telling us, we might as well at least let them do the figures. Oh, we already had a guest bring us a bunch of calculators. Right?
11, I think.
11, that was very nice of them.
do you have $300,053.56?
I have, 289,253.66. Is that
Are
the
you
same
going
as
off of the 290,000 figure or the 301?
No, the 301 figure is right.
301 figure is what was going on?
So then you were subtracting 1,260 from that,
Right.
and you came up with, oh, okay.
289,366. Okay.
So we'll just amend that, or we could have just a new motion, or how we just like to amend this motion to be 289,000.
wait a second, we still have the original motion to pay the road and bridge. So we need,
Minus that amount, giving you that.
We'd like to amend the motion. The person who made the motion would like to amend the motion. Who made the motion to this one?
Lawrence,
Rachel wants to, can we amend the motion, be $289,253.66,
So moved, so amended.
okay? Then the second, same second would be great. Second, okay. All right, so we're making a motion to pay the road and bridge fund of $289,253.66. We need a roll call vote for that?
Victor,
Yes.
Chapman,
Yes.
Shay,
Yes.
Lawrence,
Yes,
Bledsoe.
Yes. Okay, I would like to get a motion to audit the claims of the equipment and building fund of $40,000, $636.87. Is
I
make a motion, okay?
second.
Okay, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Richter,
Yes.
Chapman,
Yes.
Shay,
Yes.
Lawrence,
Yes.
Watson.
Yes. Okay. We have, if someone can, I'd be happy to do it. I need the extra. We need the signing sheets. Okay. So we're gonna have, open up the public comments. We had a great meeting last night. We got some information from a bunch of, nice folks and got some suggestions. And so we limit. Yes. And, so we have a sign sheet. You may speak up to 3 minutes. And, we're very casual here. So if you just like to stand up, you can just stand up. If you like to go to the podium, you can go to the podium. If you like to remain seated, feel free to. And we'll give you 3 minutes and, we'll take it.
Motion to adjourn.
We're ordering in tonight. All right, so anyways, this Mr. John Leonardi would like to speak, please do.
Yes, on the table there, you had the road treasurer's, road district treasurer's annual report. And it indicates that, there was no audit done in last fiscal year, is that correct?
Well, unfortunately, at these meetings,
It's either yes or no,
well, we did have an audit, I guess we did, but, we have required it, but for when we speak at these meetings, it's 3 minutes, we listen to the public, we don't respond to them.
Okay,
Okay, but if you have a question like that, you can always call my office.
I'm wondering why there was no, indication of audit finances spent on the treasurer's report. Also wondering why the legal costs haven't been broken out. And I hope the board gets back to the community and answer those questions.
Thank you, sir. Linda. Stengel.
Yeah, like Casey said.
Okay, thank you for signing. Okay, Carl.
Stengel.
Okay, okay. And there's the next one. No, they don't. Do you want to speak, sir? Okay, okay. It begins with, I believe it's Z. If we miss you, we'll just let you come back.
The little names.
Yeah,
Tim Cody.
okay. Sorry, Tim.
Sorry, I've signed a lot of waivers today. Just kind of looks bad.
That's okay, my signature is probably worse.
Sure. I have concerns about the village having collected additional funds, not to mention all the funds to supply us with water. I understand that we received a service for that. We received our water. This is going to the water main. This is my concern. I own a home down there. I know that there was problems with the system. As I worked on my house, the water shut itself off, and I had to work with the water department to open that line up. And I had to supply the equipment to do that with, because they didn't even have basically an electrical snake pushed through the line. We were able to get that working. Now, I heard a gentleman last night mention that he hadn't had a service done, meaning that they hadn't flushed the system in as long as he remembered being in the house. I don't know who spoke and said that. I know that that's required for sanitary purposes. And I know that when it is not being done, bacteria grow in those lines. It doesn't matter how much chlorine is put in at the front end. When it's left sitting in the lines, it never reaches the back end of those lines. So I can't understand how the village could have even let supply get contaminated. I wonder when the last time water was tested in our neighborhood. And then I wonder who would be liable for the issues, the health issues that could be associated with the stagnant water that lies in those systems. Not to mention, we know that the system is made out of a potential carcinogenic material. It's a known fact. And it seems as though if that was known when they bought the system, that should have been first on the agenda to fix, not last and after the money has been collected, spent, and now we get hacked off and passed along to, this almost seems criminal to me, that, but we can't find an attorney that any of us can afford without losing every asset we have to stand up for us. I'm sure if we had a little more time, there could be severe repercussions and perhaps even repayment to us. And they would be happy to give us the line for free to get off the hook on what liabilities, what potential health liabilities alone they could have fed to us here. I have major concerns about this. And then the cost being put back onto us to do the work. We never failed to pay our taxes. We never failed to pay our water bill. They never failed to buy new equipment when it was even slightly worn. They never failed to fund their payroll and pension funds. They never failed to build a building, but yet they failed to supply us with clean water that we've been paying for on contract. So I think that most of our concerns are similar to mine. And I feel that before that ever gets let go to a private entity, they should be on the hook to do the work. And then I think the whole village water system should be sold to that private entity, because I believe that they would have a better instinct to manage it, because they manage a water company already. And that's about it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Chris, Cap,
I'll pass.
okay. Deborah Jensen? Hi, how are you?
And now for something completely different. Those of us old enough to remember. Okay, I attended the Algonquin Township Board meeting last month. And after the meeting adjourned, Trustee Victor came up from behind me and hit me on the back of my arm. Not enough to leave a mark, but it did startle me. I turned around and Victor said, "I'm German." Then there was a long, awkward silence. I was expecting more. She then said, "I'm German, not Mexican." I finally responded that I don't know what you're talking about. Trustee Victor then said, "My husband told me that he heard you say I'm Mexican while you were taking pictures of me with your phone." I said, "I haven't taken my phone out of my purse all night, and that's not true." Trustee Victor then said, "Well, so you know, I'm not Mexican, I'm German. Sometimes people can get confused by the name. It might sound Mexican, but I'm German." And then I replied, "Well, you're wrong. I didn't say anything about your heritage. I don't care what you are." Trustee Victor then said, "He heard you say it, and I'm German." And then as she walked away, I said, "You're still wrong, and I still don't care." This was clearly intended to be confrontational. This is the only one-on-one contact or conversation I've ever had with Trustee Victor. So there's no history between us. After the smoke cleared, I believe that Mr. Victor repeated to his wife something that he thought he heard from eavesdropping on a conversation between me and the woman sitting next to me. And again, her and I talked about several things, but at no time was any trustee's name mentioned. Stephen Hawking was the only name referenced in our conversations. I'm not going to stand down to bullying, and I believe that that was her intent. I'll continue to attend the monthly meetings, as I am again, and I suggest that more people do. They need to see that we don't approve of these actions.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, I'm not done.
Oh, you're at your 3 minutes, man.
Really? I've gone over my 3 minutes already?
I thought you were finished. You have 10 seconds.
There are two issues I see with this that I would like the board to address among themselves, that's fine, but I expect a response.
Okay. Did you give your name? Yeah, we-
Yes, yes, I
Yeah, we
did.
have it. Thank you.
Even though it's not required.
Is it Amy?
Mhm.
Amy with an H?
Amy Lighthammer, no. Mr. Gaster's not
Okay.
here to listen
Okay,
to my
Molly?
concerns.
I know Molly, so,
Hi.
hi Molly.
Yeah. All right. Good evening. I've lived in Lake in the Hills Estate for the past 15 years. I am requesting the help from Lake in the Hills Township for preventing the privatization of our water system. Our water system is being sold for $1 to a private company that is not even licensed in the state of Illinois. That is not our main concern. Our main concern is the fact that when Lake in the Hills bought this system in the 1970s, they knew that it needed to be replaced. It was actually condemned. Lake in the Hills Estate customers have been charged 150% over the regular water rate and also a water maintenance fee. All this money that they have been collecting was supposed to go to improving and replacing our system. Lake in the Hills has not done any replacement. All they have done is put a bandage on the system that is condemned. And that is why we're asking, that is why I'm asking for you all to commit to work with the Village of the Lake in the Hills and us residents of Township of Algonquin to stop the privatization of the water system in the Township of Algonquin.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Rachel?
So I said this last night, but I'm gonna say it again. I wanted first to say thank you to the township officials. You have been by far the most involved and responsive to our plight in Lake in the Hills Estates with our water issue that Molly just described a little bit. For as much bad press as this group gets, I wanna be a voice saying thank you for your efforts, your time, your interest, and your compassion. It's very much appreciated. For the rest of you listening, I wanna call your attention to a situation in which a local government is acting unethically and immorally to residents of this township. In 15 days, the Lake in the Hills Board will vote on whether to sell our tiny portion of the Lake in the Hills water system to a private company. This will result in dramatic, financially devastating water cost increases to our community, potentially causing people in our neighborhood to lose their homes. Since this was brought to our attention 6 weeks ago, we have done everything we can to learn about private water companies. The news is not good. Although private companies are a necessary feature of the utilities industry, it is similar to payday lending. They are a last desperate resort, the refuge of those with no other options. As our township and our closest government entity, we are begging for your ongoing public support. There are other options, but we will need time to build them. A public commitment from the township to be a part of the solution may sway the village board to stay their hand for a period of time to sufficiently explore alternative funding options. We do have a public Facebook page, Water for All Lake in the Hills, and one commenter noted that having sold their water system was the worst thing our village ever did. We all regret it, and once it's done, there's no way to undo it. You live with this forever. Please help us avoid this outcome by formally committing to work with us on this issue.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jim?
Yes, I would like to, I have 2 points I need to talk about tonight. The first is the water. I would like to just, I believe you said I needed to make a motion that on next month's meeting, you put on the agenda to speak of having the township attorney represent us in this water fiasco.
This is just a time for you to talk, but we do have on the agenda tonight, we do have discussion amongst ourselves as well on the Lake and Hills thing. The Lake and Hills water system.
Okay.
But right now it's just time for you to speak.
Yes. The other thing I need to talk about, it concerns the roads. We bought our house, it's an unincorporated area, and then, you move, you use so much money, and then your road, your kid is so bad, your kids can't ride a skateboard down it without wiping out and skinning their knees. And then you come to find out, you live on a private, non-dedicated road. I've never heard of such a thing in my life. And it's not disclosed anywhere when you're buying a home. Somehow that information needs to get to the public. And the thing that's more frustrating about it, and I don't have a problem with Andrew, But I think there needs to be a method in place where any attorney that works for the township must first have a contract with the township stating that they will not work beyond any initial retainer without another retainer being approved. Because we have these hundreds of thousands of dollars for attorney's fees, why can't we fix roads where kids can't skateboard?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Judy Zoller? Okay, thanks. Barry?
Yes. Quick, I have a couple of comments to make and then I have a little opinion. I've lived in Algonquin Township for 40 years. For 39 of those years, I thought everything was great. That's why I've never been here before. And everything was going along really nice. We did a great job. The roads were fine. The last year, I was reading the paper, this turned into a nightmare. And it's ridiculous, and the more I look at this, and here comes the opinion part, it all falls on the new road commissioner. This guy has cost our township so much money, and it's on a personal vendetta that I don't think any one of us are even interested in. I wouldn't know Bob Miller if he walked in the room right now, but I'll tell you what, I'd take him back in a heartbeat right now. I think the way this has been handled, the amount of money, as far as I'm concerned, the only, again, opinion, the only person that's making any money on this is Mr. Gasser's legal counsel. The rest of us are paying for it, and I think it's ridiculous.
Thank you very much. I would like to have the board look down on our agenda where it says set budget appropriation ordinance. Oh, I'm sorry. Did anyone not sign it and wants to speak? I didn't mean to be rude. You're more welcome to it. Okay. Yes, sir? No? Because I didn't want to discriminate if you didn't sign it.
Here's one.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Adam Scorofa. I live at 701 Roger Street. And I'm here in support with the water system crisis that we're having. But just a little information. January 2nd, we had a bonfire on our property and we had 3 different fire departments show up because I had a fire hydrant right in front of my house. They were not able to use that fire hydrant to put out the fire. They had to go down the block, pump the water to a truck, and then pump that water up the block, up the hill, to put out the fire. Now, I heard that just because they did that, the main blew down the road in Algonquin because the pressure fluctuation was so great that and the pipe infrastructure is so brittle that a main blew just because they were pumping water. So it's also a safety issue that every time they try to use the fire hydrant, the water main will break and they're so fragile. And that's true, they haven't flushed. We already been in there for about 2.5 years, living in that property, and we have other lots around Algonquin Township and Algonquin. But the issue is this, that the water was not flushed any day that we've been there yet. And it's also, last year we had an issue that for about 2-3 weeks we had brown water coming out of our faucets. And and they were saying, oh, the water's fine, but clearly it wasn't. It had some kind of residue. The water was not flushed, and just because it was never flushed, we couldn't even use it, and we were still paying 150% of the price. So that's just my comment about that issue, and hopefully get this water resolved because other neighbors been paying for this service for so many years, and I know I just moved in a couple years ago, but we have to take care of this even for the future. So not just only in health, but in safety. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Just a quick comment on all of what I have heard yet, both last night and tonight regarding this water issue in Lake in the Hills. before last night, I had no idea that this issue even existed. Tonight, I have to tell you that I am appalled at what I've been hearing. And I, for one, am going to take a closer look at this whole situation. And I would urge all of you to do the same for, if no other reason, the health and safety of our community. This is beyond the pale, and it needs to be addressed on more than just our township level. This needs to be addressed at the county board level, and if necessary, at the state level, because we are seeing the same type of thing that happened in Flint, Michigan. And if things are not done, if our public officials are not willing to stand up and take the heat and take the responsibility for this issue, we will all pay for it adversely in the end. Thank you.
I'm gonna defer a little bit and give Dan Shea a minute to speak.
I put together a list. I've had some experience with this type of thing as a village president in Fox River Grove. And I put together a list, and the people that are willing to see what I put as far as things, if you would stick around after the meeting, the people that are interested in the water problem, I will go over some of these things. And you may have already been involved in some of them, but I think it's a good idea to listen.
Thank you, Dan. Okay, so we have, anyone else, but I rushed too fast, so anybody else? Yes, sir, go ahead.
I've been going to meetings, I'm a homeowner. I'm incorporated in Algonquin, there, Unit 12. And when it all comes down to, it's money. It's all about money, isn't it? This is the problem, you know. We end up fighting over the money. Whoever has the money wins. Whoever wants to make more money wins. And, you know, we're a very modest neighborhood. And we're not Barrington. We don't have about $3-4 million. So, you know what, when it comes down to, like myself, I'm on a fixed income. Okay, well, if they start, they sell the pipe off to the mother company and they replace it, whatever, you talk $1.5 million, $2 million. I spent 45 years in the sewer and water business. I know about it. Unfortunately, we're a small group. We don't have a lot of power. We don't have a lot of money, and we're not going to put this. We're not given the opportunity to really make a difference, because we can ask all you guys, and we appreciate you hearing us out. But the reality is, it's all about money. Lake in the Hills wants to dump us because we're nobody. And they can get out of the whole situation, throw us away, done. But their responsibility started a long time ago. You don't change horses in the midstream and put it on the backs of the little people. That's unfortunately what ends up happening with smaller groups. And that's where we end up. We can just hope that you guys will listen to our problem, our frustration, and maybe have a little more strength and power than we have. So we appreciate whatever you do. Thank you.
Anybody else? Yes.
As a resident who has, really no knowledge of this before last night, I'm just encouraging the board to really take a look at what you guys can do to help these people out, because if it's, maybe it's them today, but it could be any of us, tomorrow. So I hear them and I feel for them, and I understand what it's like, to not have the money to defend yourselves, and it's really heartbreaking. And this is what, government can do really great things for people. And this could be an opportunity for, the township to help these people out. And I don't know what you guys can do, but I mean, they're desperate. They're here. They're asking for your guys' help. So just really consider that. That's all I ask.
Thank you. Yes. Yes, ma'am.
I'm also a resident of Unit 12, and I think our frustration, and maybe we're hearing it from that gentleman and you, is how to get the word out. We have an online petition that has been signed by 107 people so far, with very good comments. We did go Saturday and walk Lake and Hills and took petitions and doors. Flyers and doors with all the information and what we're up against. But I think we're beating our heads against the wall because we just can't get the word out.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to quickly echo what Nick Rico and Catherine Potter and several of the residents here have said. Being the moderator at last night's meeting, I was absolutely horrified to hear about what you folks are going through. I just recently heard about this matter maybe like a week ago, signed your petition. I want to let you guys know I'm here. Dominic Miller, I am here. Anything I can do to help, please let me know. And I also want to let those of you who don't know, some of the trustees here know that these are people you can trust. I'm sure that this is something that will easily cross the aisle. I'm sure that there won't be any argument over this. I think anybody with compassion and empathy will hear your plight and will take action on this. So thank you in advance for doing so.
Anybody else? Okay, thank you, and thank you for being so polite. Most of the comments, and I appreciate that. We have, I want to go take you down the agenda a little bit. I'm going to use my powers to move around a little bit. But we have set Wednesday, May 9th, and for our budget hearings. And as you know, we had a town meeting which required public notice. We found out that we didn't execute the public notice within 30 days for the May 9th budget hearing. So what I need to ask the board is we need to move those budget hearings until the following week in May, which would be either Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, which I believe is the 12th, 13th, or 14th. And then we would have the town, my budget hearing at 6:30 in the road district at 6:45. And then we have the regular meeting. I'd like to move all those. And then the clerk will publish that so that we have that published within the 30-day notice. So is there any day that's not going to work for any of the trustees?
I hate to say it, but my schedule's on my refrigerator door and I forgot to bring it.
What?
Okay, well, we'll count him as a maybe.
Let's set it for Monday, 12th.
Anybody have a problem with that?
Monday the 14th.
Wait, 14?
Yep.
Let's make sure we're looking at the right dates.
Yeah.
The correct date is Monday, May 14th.
Okay, so let's just, we don't really need to make a motion.
Change.
We're also going to add the regular township meeting to that day.
I think you should make a motion.
Okay, so I can make a motion to change the budget hearing at 6:30 to May 12th, right? 14th, okay, 14th, okay. And Monday at 6:30, and the road district budget hearings to 6:45, and then the regular May meeting to 7 p.m.
Yes.
Can I get a motion?
That is my motion, sir.
Okay. Any second? Okay. Roll call, please.
Discussion?
Okay, discussion.
Just for the record, whose responsibility was it to place timely notice for this budget hearing?
It was mine.
Thank you.
Roll call?
Victor,
Yes.
Chapman,
Yes.
Shay,
Yes,
Bledsoe,
Yes.
Lawrence.
Yes.
Okay. Now, we can go back up a little bit higher, but on the discussion of the township budget, I believe I sent that up, or I had my office, let's say my office email updated. budget, and the only changes that I know that we changed was just because of last night at the annual town meeting, the, electors moved the cemetery amount from $300 to $5,300, and that came out of the contingency fund. So the contingency fund was lowered. We're not gonna vote on this tonight. You still have plenty of time to get back to me with any feedback that you'd like. I think I've met with most of you and discussed it with most of you, and everyone seems to be fairly pleased with that budget.
Amazing.
Thank you. If does anyone want to discuss it, we're here.
A couple things. I want to remind everyone that the township per se, through our office, owns the property. And any modifications done, and the road district leases it, they should all come to us for approval before they're made. I'm really concerned that we spent over $250,000 on door locks. As far as I'm concerned, that's a frill. And it's just unreasonable to spend that kind of money. That's one. Also, I'm upset that because we don't have any type of explanation ahead of time before larger capital items are purchased, all we do is we get a bill that it's to be paid. And I'd much rather see something come here. In some cases, it's nothing more than a courtesy, but it sure doesn't hurt if government practices courtesies. So beyond that, I'm also very upset with the massive amount of legal spending. And I would say that I don't have anything against the law, lawyers, but I guess I do. All right.
Well, I just would like to respond that I have brought major purchases to the board. Where
Understood.
Which you know that.
But
And
particularly things that involve these expenditures, they should come here for proposal and identification before those monies are spent and we end up just paying. Before, we always have.
And I do also want to concur with you about the lawyers, even though I have a son that's going too.
But that's the problem. One of the problems is, besides offending Jim, is we don't really have a choice when those things come in. They got to be paid.
Right.
And
that's the only point I wanted to make this to the public, because they don't get to hear this, is when we have lawyers in certain cases, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on this tonight, but we have to defend not only any of the elected officials here, we have to defend past and previous elected officials. So you can imagine when you get 7 lawyers in a room, they can only think about one thing, probably billing. Oh, maybe I'll get no. But anyways, but the bottom line is many times we're put in a position that we have no choice but to, we have to defend, each person has to be defended. And it's a horrible situation. And that's why I think we've worked very hard, at least on the township side, to get along and stop any of this inner squabbling. We've worked, all the trustees have worked with me very closely, and I think we've reached some of that point. I got pretty close.
I'd also like to see, when we have claims of malfeasance, I would like to see that turned into the state's attorney rather than us doing these things in-house. Remember, we pay for the state's attorney. So we're paying twice. We pay here, and we got people in Woodstock sitting that we're paying them also. So it's completely out of line that these things should be done both in-house and not up there. The last thing is, at one time we had a problem with items that were from a camera system I have no idea about, and all the information went to the cloud. Well, good luck. The trouble is, I don't know that anybody here can access where that information went, and all that information by law should be turned over to the clerk unless there was a legal position that that material wasn't to be. But that, and I don't know that anybody's chasing that. And I would like to see something in, while we're working with our budget that includes that type of thing. I understand with the hacked phone line that the police turned down doing something about it. And we had a report of a dump truck park taken. I've talked about that. I couldn't get there was no immediate answer. But I've never seen a police report or an insurance report for that. And you're talking about a significant value. That was mentioned at the meeting here.
Can I interject? There was a memo that came across, with the records, and, Mr. Gasser had said a dump truck, I think it was a plow was missing, from a truck that was, previously sold to Nunda, I believe. Anyway, I found the intergovernmental agreement, and it has all of the items with the truck in Nunda. So I don't believe we're missing anything, but.
All right, I accept that. The only thing is that was used as one of the main subjects for getting who knows how much fence here.
Correct.
Now we've got all this security, and then we want to put up a fence also. The trouble is we've got is we're spending money even more than these people can make. So personally, as you know, I'm kind of a heavy on not spending money just for the sake of spending it. Thank you.
All right. Anybody else?
Back to the issue of the township budget, I just want to say that I did meet with Chuck. I did meet with Andrew, both of them individually at length with multiple pages of my questions, and that I've thoroughly gone through it diligently. And there were some adjustments made. It's a great discussion of the changes that I proposed, and an explanation of those that I didn't understand. And I feel like, as it is, I think that it's worthy of approval. That's all I have.
Mike, I just want to thank you for meeting with us. We had a great meeting, and we had a lot of good meetings, and that's how we get things done. Okay, Trustee Kevin?
Yeah, and maybe you know, and Jim, you would back it up. Do we have board policy?
We have what?
Policy. Do we have policies that may be established from time to time? You were talking about the fact that things should come to us first so that we can find out about them before we're voting on approving it. Is that it?
Many of the things cannot be a policy because of the autonomy of the highway department. But there's, as I mentioned, excuse me. But I've mentioned there are common courtesies, and it's always nice if government practices a common courtesy. But there are other things we do have a say-so on. Like I said, the property is ours. We still have a copy of the original agreement to purchase the property that primarily belonged to Meyer. And it sets out in no indifferent term, no general terms, but outright that we are the owner and it's leased. And as anybody knows, no, people that are leasing property do not have the authority to modify it on their own.
Thanks, Dan.
These questions are in the policy.
Okay, Jim, thank you.
So,
Absolutely. We'll be talking about establishing some policies, especially with cloud. Here on the board, some things that.
well, we have some intergovernmental agreements that I've dug up, and some projects for the attorney, and we're gonna make some changes, but we found some that were done in the past, and they're sitting on my desk, and as we get past the budget process, we're gonna tackle that. I believe that there's only one building that we partially own with the highway department, and then all the other buildings are all mine. No, that just keeps it all people's.
I don't know how to get in the truck, but the district can't own real estate.
No. And that's why I asked you about the $3 million where he claimed that he held property.
Okay, well, that's my understanding, was that there was 97% of the buildings are owned by the township, but there was one building that was owned by both. But we're digging through.
When you get the state under GAAP has required that everything that the township has to be stated and then amortized of all things, which was terrible trying to do some of these bridges that no one even knew when they were built. But that can add up if you're looking for where a lot of money is, because it involves roads, it involves all kinds of things.
Well, we have a project list we're working through.
Yeah. Okay.
Any other discussion on the budget? Trustee Lawrence, do you have something? Or, okay. Discussion on the road and bridge budget?
Yeah, go ahead. I'm just waiting to hear back from Andrew. I sent him a list of my questions and I expect to talk to him very soon. So
I am very concerned about the legal fees.
Let her, okay. I didn't want them interrupting you. You go ahead.
I'm very concerned that he has another $250,000 in his next budget to go towards legal fees. On a case that I feel has no merit, that he has already lost twice in, with a lawyer that has no practice insurance.
Yes, sir.
As a courtesy, I've reviewed the concerns I have with Andrew. And the biggest concern I have is when you look at expenditures under two items on the equipment building fund. Building and upgrading is two words, $800,000. Equipment, vehicles, machinery, $900,000. That seems like very few words for no money. And I've asked him to break it down and give us what in the world brought those numbers up. We're talking $1.7 million, and he understands that, and he'll be working on it because he has some items that need to be more or less. See, we only have, in this case, one control. We cannot pass the budget. It goes back to the last one if we don't pass it. We can't modify it, but it's up to him to try and work with us to make it fit, particularly with that kind of money. I might be all trucks, might be all kinds of things. Might be fully justified. It's just that I hate to see that kind of money without a bigger explanation.
Dan, I think a couple of things might have changed, and maybe it's in the township law since you've last read it. And there is a provision that this board will adopt that budget as it's deemed necessary. And so if there are things in that budget that we do not deem that are necessary, then we have the ability to remove those from that budget. And that's in the legislation.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so the actual wording of that, you are correct, is we have the authority to approve those portions of the budget which are necessary for the functioning of that department. As far as Trustee Shay's questions, like I did with the supervisor, I met at length with Andrew about the questions and concerns that I had about his budget, the suggestions that I had, and went through them and they got explanations. I went through everything, and specifically to Dan Shay's comment or question, really concern, is that one of the large expenses that he was anticipating or was part, because I had the same question, is that there was a some things with the salt dome that needed to be done. There was a $60,000 Vector repair bill that's gonna have to be done. There were certain different things that he had, the salt conveyor belt, which is getting close for that. And then also the roofing on the salt dome as well. So that's the explanation that he gave to me anyway, that just for what that's worth. And I found that to be satisfactory based upon what he told me. The other questions that I addressed, I don't know if you want me to go through all of them because I mean, several pages here, but if there's anything.
Yeah, I'll be glad to talk with you. Get some of
In
the
public
same
meeting or
questions.
one-on-one?
No, one-on-one.
Okay, sure.
Thank you.
And as so similarly as in the conversations and discussions I had with the supervisor, after speaking with him about the questions and concerns, I find it to be satisfactory for approval as well. Lastly, the legal bill, the legal line item, I find to be necessary. This board has unanimously approved the separate, legal counsel. Attorney Hanlon is the attorney on record for the road district of Algonquin Township. And we are obligated to pay his bills for as long as those cases are drawn out. So whether or not it's in the budget, we will need to pay it. If we do not pay it, we will still be obligated to pay it. And if we don't put it in the budget and refuse to pay it, we run the risk of being sued and not only paying the original amount, but our legal bills defending it, as well as Hanlon's legal bills. So I do find that necessary, unfortunately.
Okay. Anybody else? Are we okay? Good. Okay. There's no old business. There's the Eagle Scout. What? Except you. Not fun. Old business. Thank you, sir. Anyways, we have a resolution. This is a good news thing, so folks, we have a gentleman who lives in Crystal Lake and Edgewood Avenue, who yes, is Eagle Scout Graham Clutie. I believe it's Clutie is his name, and we have a resolution congratulating him on passing his Eagle Scout. So we should be proud of our young men that go through this rigorous training and trying to better themselves. So,
Would you like me to read it into the record?
if you would like to, yeah, Mr. Shea, is he a reader?
All right. Whereas Mr. Graham Clute of Crystal Lake, Illinois, has proudly achieved the rank of Eagle Scout, the highest level in Boy Scouting, and whereas it is a tremendous accomplishment that less than 2% of Boy Scouts ever attain, the citizenry of Algonquin Township expresses its profound joy and pride. Now therefore, the Algonquin Township Board of Trustees hereby acclaims and applauds Mr. Graham Clute for his diligence and outstanding personal effort in reaching the goal of Eagle Scout. Be it further resolved that this resolution be spread upon the minutes of the Board of Trustees of Algonquin Township on this 11th day of April, 2018.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shea. You should have been a radio talk show person. Great voice. And do we, yeah, I guess get a motion.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call. Oh, no, I mean, wait for it.
All in favor?
Aye. Okay. Next on our budget, next on our, not our budget, please. Next on our agenda is discussion of the Lake in the Hills water system for unincorporated residents. Okay. So not only did we get everyone a chance to speak, we're going to give anybody, any of our trustees who would like to speak on this topic. As I mentioned, we don't have any action we're going to take, but if someone would like to say something or add to the discussion, we wanted to make sure it was on our agenda, okay?
I would.
Okay, go ahead.
I first have a question, directly related to, I believe it was, Mr. Oh gosh, I'm sorry, I forgot your name. Tim Cody's, Mr. Tim Cody's comment. Does the Algonquin Township itself receive money for unincorporated Lake Union Hills water infrastructure?
I do not believe so.
No. It's the village.
Okay, so that was a misunderstanding on my part then, so I apologize. The second thing that I wanted to address is, and you know, there's been a lot of, in public comment, we hear you. I know because I've been in contact with many of you in the audience for, you know, one-on-one. I've spoken with Trustee Harlfinger, is it? Harlfinger of Lake in the Hills. And while it sounds like, you know, as much as I hate to sound like passing the buck, townships are very limited in what our authorities are, in what our powers and duties are. What we could, in theory, do, hypothetically, is pass a resolution urging someone to do something, but even that is just saying, we want you to do something and we feel this way. We do not have any authority over the actions of Lake in the Hills. Lake in the Hills is its own municipality, and we cannot force them to do anything. And unfortunately, like many of the conversations that I've had, I'm extremely empathetic, and many of you know that. That I wish I could do more, that I wish this board could do more, and I believe that many of us also feel the same way. But I just want to state again, for those of you who haven't heard it, I do believe that all those years ago, I have educated myself on the topic. I had the chance to by speaking with people over the past several weeks. But I do believe, and I'm not an attorney and I don't play one on TV, but I do believe that all those years ago when the Village of Lake in the Hills purchased that infrastructure, they changed from a municipal utility provider relationship into a utility company / consumer provider relationship with those unincorporated residents. I believe that they have a duty and a responsibility. I can't say that they do by law because I'm not a lawyer, but I do believe that they do have a duty after collecting 1.5 times the rate per gallon of water as everyone else has been paying, and happily accepting it for decades, that they have a responsibility and that they have abdicated. And I completely condemn them for doing that. I've spoken to the Trustee Harlfinger and expressed as such, and I don't envy his position. I think it's a very unique position that Lake in the Hills finds itself in because of this situation, because they entered into, when they purchased this land, it included, unfortunately, either known or unbeknownst to them, included this unincorporated territory. But I do believe they have a duty, and I do believe that they should follow through on it for what that's worth, in one trustee's opinion.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Anybody else? No? Okay. We do have a request from one of the trustees. They have discussion of the clerk contract with the employee / contractor. Any discussion on that?
Yes. So I recently became aware of a document, I should say. A document that was signed by one contractor and the clerk of Algonquin Township, which states a rate of pay and some sort of agreement of employment or exchange of money in exchange of services. I have a series of questions about this actually, which I may, part is for you and part is for you, Mr. Supervisor and Mr. Kelly. First question is for Mr. Kelly. This document actually states, the very first sentence states that the document is between the named contractor and the Algonquin Township clerk, hereinafter referred to as Township, Algonquin Township or Township. And I would like to ask Mr. Kelly to please cite the statute which allows a township clerk to enter contracts on behalf of a township board.
Well, first of all, I read the contract also. She's entered into the contract on behalf of herself within the authority you gave her. And the authority that she has to enter that contract is she can take any actions that are reasonably necessary to fulfill her duties. This board essentially gave her that authority when they approved the, I think it was $11,000 or so.
So we authorize the expenditure of funds.
She has the same authority as the supervisor. Of course, he has a slightly different standard. He's a member of the board.
It's not the same.
He can enter into a contract. There's no statutory authority that says he can sign a contract. There's no authority that says the clerk can sign a contract. There's no authority that says the assessor can sign a contract. And for that matter, there's no authority that says a highway commissioner or a law authority in the highway code that states he can enter into contracts. So the authority for the clerk to enter into a contract is based upon essentially her ability to reasonably enter into a contract to fulfill a duty that she has. And it's limited by, in this case, her budget. And that's my answer to your question. There's no direct authority.
So there, you're unable to cite a statute to
There's
answer my
no
question.
statute for anyone
So
sitting
no,
at this table
thank you.
to enter into a contract.
One other concern that I have is that the clerk has repeatedly referred to this contractor as an employee. And even stipulates in the document as reporting only to the clerk, shall report only to the clerk. I'm wondering how the Algonquin Township, this 5-member board of Algonquin Township can be bound into a contract signed by none of us, authorized by none of us, and reporting only to none of us.
Sure, the contractor works for the clerk.
I was referring to the 5-member board.
Can I speak up on that? First of all, I don't think this is, the way that you're acting is very appropriate right now. We don't need to be attacking people.
Actually, I was asking the attorney a question.
Second of all, were you present on Wednesday, August 9th at 7 p.m.?
Point of
At our
order.
meeting?
Wait, hang on. Hang on, guys.
I'm asking a
Let
question.
her ask a question and then.
Point of order.
What's the
Were
point
you
of order?
present?
Let her finish.
Were you present
Point
at
of
the
order.
board meeting?
Okay, that's the point of order. Go ahead.
Point of order. She's out of order.
How's she out of order? She's asking a question.
I'm asking if you were present at the board
Unrelated
meeting
to
on Wednesday,
any-
August 9th, because it was at that meeting that we allocated to give her funding to hire
Allocating
help.
to expend funds is different
No,
than
she is allowed.
allowing
she is
someone to
allowed-
enter a contract on behalf of this 5-member entity of Algonquin Township.
Let's just have one person speak at a time. And,
So let me finish.
okay, go ahead.
So like I said, I have several questions,
Okay.
if you'd allow me to finish.
If you can do it a little more respectfully.
Point of order.
Please.
So if the clerk needs assistance, which appears to be the case based on the clerk's own statements, repeated statements, as well as recently filed 16 count, 175-page new lawsuit.
Okay, that has nothing to do with.
Actually, it's very germane to the topic. Yes,
Point of order.
if the clerk's needs assistance, which based upon her own repeated statements, as well as a 16-count lawsuit regarding Freedom of Information Act compliance, appears or seems to indicate, then I'd be more than happy to supply that in accordance with Township Code by appointing or allowing or making a motion to appoint a deputy, agreeing to appoint. Excuse me, point of order.
No, where's the point of order? What does this lawsuit have to do with anything else?
It has to do with the ability of the clerk to perform her duties in a lawful manner.
And she is performing her duties in a lawful manner.
Thank you for your opinion. Now I would like to finish my point.
Just finish your, but hold on, she's got to finish her point, and we'll move on.
So I would be more than happy to supply that in accordance with Township Code by appointing or approving the appointment and swearing in under oath a deputy clerk to assist the clerk in her lawful duties and authority. And until such time as that occurs, I do not view this as a legal document. I do not view it as a legal contract, and in the future, I will not be voting to approve payments of any related invoices to that document.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, were you present on Wednesday, August 9, 2017 at 7 p.m.?
I don't recall.
She was, I saw the video.
It shows here that you were present. I just wanted to maybe recollect if you were present. We did get her money allocated toward funding to get help. I feel that what you are doing is completely political. And we don't need to be attacking one another. We're supposed to be moving forward as a board. She has somebody helping her. We have $11,500 that was allocated for her to use as she wished to hire help. And so far, I looked at the bills.
But she didn't hire help.
And she did hire help.
Contract is not a hire.
It is a legal contract according to our township attorney. And that is who says, he states that it is a legal and binding contract, and therefore it is legal. And she has spent $5320.05 out of the $11,000 for her to go over the records and to scan records and to help her with all of these documents in all the different places that they are. And maybe you need to walk around. Didn't you say you were going to give a?
We have it on the next item on the agenda.
To walk around so people can
give
understand how
anyone
many
of the
documents
public-
there are that need to be gone through. And frankly, I feel $17 an hour for work when Mr. Gasser is spending $250,000 in legal fees.
Okay, let's stick on that topic. Okay, so basically, we got, Ms. Lawrence, I think, made her.
That's fine.
No.
Actually, I'd like to respond to it.
No, you don't have to approve it. You don't have to approve
We're
it.
here to
Thank you
meet
for,
to discuss it.
Okay,
thank you for discussing
let
it.
her finish, and then.
Thank you for discussing it. You don't need to approve it. I am in full support of it and I will approve it.
Thanks for your opinion. I would just like to stipulate that a contract is not a hire. And I believe that the township attorney is fully aware of that as well. Hiring someone and putting them on a payroll, on payroll is very, very different from putting that, from issuing a contract. Technically, this person is not a township employee. It is a township contractor. And I believe, and I don't want to contribute or I don't want the township to appear or the clerk's office to appear as if it is circumventing the payroll and FICA withholding, the IRS, everything that goes with the payroll hiring by using the contract loophole.
Okay. The township for years has hired independent contractors for many, many tasks. Some short-term help over the summer for recycling, for, what else do they use it for? Clean, we actually have some people that come in and set up some things for us, IT and all that stuff, so we do have a process of hiring it. I agree with you that if someone's gonna stay on for a long period of time, we need to turn those people into employees, but this is a temporary position. And,
It doesn't state that anywhere in the contract.
well, we have, anytime this board can talk to the clerk and pull the funding on this if they choose to.
Can I say something? Since everyone's talking about me and I'm sitting right here. I hired him contractually, I entered into an agreement contractually with this gentleman so that he could help me with the enormous amount of records we have, and I will show everyone. And when you see it, you'll understand what I'm up against. However, it is a legal contract. I got legal opinion from our attorney, who is also my attorney in the clerk's office. I asked for help. You gave me the funds to get help, and I entered into a contract because it was toward the end of the budget year. I wanted to see how this young man worked out, to see if he fit with the township. And when he did fit, my intention is now to go forward and ask for more funding to hire an employee. That is in the budget. I put it in the budget, and that is my intent. And I am very, very tired of not being able to be efficient and effective because all of the political attacks, and that is what it is. And I'm quite frankly sick of it. It needs to stop. This is ridiculous.
Well, I think Trustee Lawrence was going to make the point, and clerk made her point, and
Are you ending discussion?
go, do you have another question?
I do have a question for Attorney Kelly. Is it true that this contract employee is a relative of one of your law firm colleagues?
No.
So Mr. Jeff Barrett actually told me a falsehood when he said that his sister works at your law firm.
His sister was a summer intern for me. He worked 8 hours a week.
Thank you.
Okay, answering the phones, which is something I've done for the last 15 years.
Thank you.
You didn't have to answer like that.
All right.
Relevant.
Okay. We have, I just want to let out, first of all, I just want everyone from the here from Lake and Hills, I'm gonna pivot a little bit, and let you know that you come to two meetings, 2 nights. So we're not gonna discuss that topic anymore. Not that we wouldn't love you to stay forever, but at the same time, I know you don't want to be rude and leave, so I just want to give you permission that you can leave if you like, but.
Well, I was going to talk.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, okay, so then Dan has some things he wants to talk to you after the meeting. I just didn't want you to feel like you're staying here just for, okay.
I can give the tour to the trustees if anyone wants to join.
Okay, so, all right, thank you. So we've had the clerk ask me to make an adjustment. Okay. We had on an agenda here, on the agenda, one of the suggestions came from one of my relatives. No, my wife, she said that.
Is she on the payroll too?
No, she's not.
Okay.
Anyways, but she did suggest that showing somebody a picture of the massive job our clerk has to undertake probably doesn't do it for you. So we had it on the agenda tonight that we could all walk over there and take a tour so people can get a better handle of what she's trying to do. She's kindly said that she would take over any of the trustees after the meeting adjourns, and so she's gonna do that, so that we can continue moving forward with this meeting, okay? And then we have on the agenda, requested by another trustee, reconfiguration of office space. I believe that was, Trustee Victor. add some comments and thoughts regarding, our building.
I think that right now, because of the hostility that is among many members in the township, specifically a couple, that reconfiguration of space, all the records and the that we have in these different buildings should all be moved to the township admin building, and that the township should be a separate entity and, instead of Road and Bridge, and the Road and Bridge should move to Building 6. So that is a separate entity, that we get all the records in one place, that all the records are secure and safe, and it will also end a little bit of the hostility that goes on day to day with the township and the Road and Bridge.
Okay, anybody else?
Unrelated. I just wanted to ask, if we could just revisit the discussion on League in the Hills just for one quick.
Sure, I'd be willing to grant that.
I'd like to, in regards to the discussion of Lake in the Hills water system for unincorporated residents, I'd like to make a motion that this board approve a resolution encouraging the Lake in the Hills board to fulfill its obligation to its unincorporated customers, all of its customers, with regards to maintenance of all of its customers' water lines as it entered into a contract into many decades ago.
So
If I could just make a comment. There's already, I think Rachel, was it you, Rachel?
Yeah.
Rachel put one pretty much together. I will forward it, I will work at it, look at it, and then forward it to our attorney. And then we'd have that available, but it'll probably be available to next month's meeting. Because that's what we're
Anytime, not just tonight.
No.
No, they have 50 days until they vote.
Yeah, you can. It's okay. Wait. We don't need to vote on the subject. It's a suggestion from trustee Morris. We have an agreement from the board that there would be somebody we'd like to see. We'll put that together and we can have a motion at the next meeting. Okay?
well, they have a week left.
Well, then.
It's on the agenda, and she made a
On the
lawful
agenda,
motion,
and I made
and
a
it was
motion, and it
seconded.
was seconded.
So it should
Well,
be.
but all you're doing is asking us to draft an ordinance.
Yeah, so we don't need to meet again to sign it, just like we didn't meet to sign previous Eagle Scout signs. Right.
But we don't know what's in it.
We will individually sign it in all of it when we individually.
We all got it.
Okay.
You don't even know what you're signing a resolution. What you want to know is there's so many loose ends that I see on it that it'll be almost ineffective. You want to get a resolution of support, but you don't want to say, yes, we support it. You want to have a little more meat in it. And I think it's going to have to be reviewed. That's why I want to review with these people.
Well, I can't, I get what, everyone's trying to do the right thing here. I'm just trying to say that.
Okay, Chuck, we have a week to get some sort of.
But you're gonna.
The individual trustees can, without violating the Open Meetings Act, confer with Attorney Kelly. They can confer with one another one-on-one. And we can, if we all really want to, have this done in the next few days.
I'm gonna just state what the resolution is right now.
Yes.
That's why I just did. I'm trying to just find it.
No, the actual resolution, which is pretty good. Was that the same thing that Rachel sent us?
Yeah.
Okay, then that's it.
Do we have a copy of that?
I've never seen a copy of that.
I sent it to all of you individually. You all have it.
Is
It was
that
sent
like
to
an
you.
attachment?
Nope, it was in the body of the email.
Well, I think it's a lot cleaner to have it drafted, and if we have to have this, we can send out a.
We can get someone to run a copy.
Please, sir. And have, schedule a meeting within 48 hours and have a meeting. I mean, to me, it's a lot cleaner. I'm just.
Here, I have it. Can I read it to you?
Okay.
Please.
I think that's fine.
This is what I wrote to you guys before, whereas the Algonquin Township learned that the village of Lake in the Hills intends to sell water infrastructure serving 71 unincorporated homes and businesses to a private company, and whereas the residents of the unincorporated section have been continuous customers of the water department under both private and municipal ownership for over 50 years, and whereas the residents contributed financially to the water company through line maintenance fees and water rates over those 50+ years, and whereas the sale of this infrastructure will lead to estimated water cost increases of 300 to 500% based on publicly available information, and whereas such rate increases unjustly and unsustainably burden the residents of this area, and whereas the residents were not consulted in a matter of great financial import, resolved the Algonquin Township called on the Lake in the Hills Village Board to reject the current bid. Resolved, the Algonquin Township called on the Lake in the Hills Village Board to partner with the residents to review and select the most equitable, affordable options for all parties. Resolved, the Algonquin Township urges the Lake in the Hills Village Board to be fully transparent with residents, providing information in a timely fashion.
3.
That is what I sent to you guys.
Yes.
Okay, I think that's really great. I would still, based on our township attorney's advice, I really think we'd be much cleaner. Could have him clean up the resolution a little bit, no offense to you, did a great job, and have a special meeting when we agree to it.
Yep.
And then vote on it.
Okay, good.
Okay.
And so when would you like to schedule that?
Tomorrow.
We have to do it 48 now.
We need to vote on the motion second.
Yes.
Okay.
Tonight. Yeah, tonight.
I like to do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I almost said it, like, oh wait, we said we were saying.
All right, so
We got a pending motion and second to get the vote.
okay, okay. So can you repeat that motion? 'Cause I'm.
No.
Want me to read it again?
She's
Not
got it on
table.
camera.
I'd say repeat the resolution.
I make a motion, again, why can't I just make a motion to repeat the motion that is already recorded on live stream camera? I've already made the motion and it's already been seconded.
To adopt that resolution.
To adopt that resolution?
Yes, urging the Lake in the Hills exactly as I phrased it.
I second.
Yeah.
You know, it's up to the board. It's a policy decision. The only caution I would give is that there was some numerical information that was presented in that. I don't know how the board would know that. Secondly, although the sale is relatively imminent and may have only been noticed up for the last several months, this particular issue dealing with this system and either the elimination of it or creating a special service area has been discussed by the village of Lake and Hills for 5, 6, or 7 years. I mean, so, but the actual sale, I think, is the recent.
When is the next village board meeting?
15 days.
Okay, so we can schedule a meeting of this board to have it, we only need 3 members, for sometime during the day, we'll have to meet at night, and give the attorney the chance to make the resolution, what I would feel more comfortable with just verifying the facts. And not subjecting the township to hospital, probably nothing, but it's a resolution, but we just, you know, I think that would be the cleaner way to do it.
Okay.
So long as it's stipulated that we are urging the Lake in the Hills board to fulfill its,
Absolutely.
what we believe are its obligations
So-
to all of its customers.
So is there a time that we can get?
But she still has a motion.
Okay.
In a second. You just can't leave that hanging out.
So yes would be to just go ahead and do it. No would be we would all agree to come sometime during the day next week.
Okay, then I rescind my motion.
Okay.
I make a new motion to draft a resolution on behalf of the Algonquin Township Board that encourages the Lake in the Hills, the Board of Lake in the Hills municipality to fulfill its duties to all of its municipal water infrastructure customers, incorporated and unincorporated, using terminology which will be drafted within the next, will be drafted imminently and approved at the next special board meeting.
And we would have a special board meeting next week sometime. So we can get at least 3 people.
Second.
We'd probably do that during the day, so it should be a very quick meeting.
This is the new one?
No, it's. All right.
Victor,
Yes.
Chapman?
Yes.
Shay?
Yes,
Watson?
Yes.
Lawrence?
Yes.
Do we want to see if we can schedule it, or we want to see if Dan has to go to his refrigerator? Okay. All right. All right. So I do stand up on many, Friday night. All right. So thank you very much. Thank you for that motion, by the way. And so we're all on your side. So it's not like we're disagreeing with it. We just want to do things correctly.
Can I ask something? I know it's not public comment period, I get it, I'm out of order, but can I ask something?
Yes.
Yeah, so you guys have kind of a reputation for having a lot of legal bills right now. Can I ask, why can't the township actually use the township attorney to represent us, since you guys have no relationship with Lake in the Hills other than just us? Like, we are fighting Lake in the Hills, and we really need help from someone who understands the legal issues. We do not understand them. I have a lot of education, but not in that.
It's
So
my understanding that the township many years ago did offer up the services of the township attorney until, yeah.
Not during our lifetime.
not very.
Yeah, it did happen.
In the 70s?
I don't know, but
Probably, yeah.
and that's,
That's the entity of Algonquin Township itself.
but you have to realize
It's
something,
Oh,
we
yeah.
still represent all 75,000 people, as well as the 71 people, or 71 homes. You told me 78, okay. It depends what kind of, but no, I mean, I, that's something Mike we can ask the attorney, but it's,
I made a motion on that yesterday and today.
Yes.
also, as you mentioned, as you knew at the township meeting. But
It's
that-
not valid.
it wasn't, yeah. Do you have anything in that or no?
I will tell you that township attorney represents the governmental body, not individual citizens. Essentially, I think what has happened in the past was that the township asked essentially the township attorney to give some opinions as far as how the residents or citizens could proceed. I think that was probably easily 7 or 8 years ago. I think I gave some of that advice. But we can't represent you as in file a lawsuit on your behalf individually or as a group to stop this. I think that's outside the scope of the authority of this township.
Okay, and so I just want to add to that, let me just add to that. Trustee Shay, that was also a county board member, he was also a mayor, he's agreed to sit down with you after this meeting. I would listen to his advice, he will point you in some of the right directions, like going to the county, seeing what the state can do, and so I think he will be a valuable asset to listen to, and at least, like, help you. So that would be my suggestion, okay? But, we just can't, have an attorney, it's a conflict for him representing, and we still, Lake in the Hills is still in our township too.
well, let me mention, you have one interest, but we have a whole township, and if you set a precedent, you could end up with everybody that wants to have a subdivision over here and all the other people that want to have something like that. And you would not be able to readily turn them down. And there's no resources to go that far.
Okay, so we're gonna have to go on to adjourn to executive session.
I'm not.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And I'd like to just jump on one thing Mr. Shea said. And we're talking about all these issues with regard to what we can do for you. And one of the gentlemen out here mentioned, for example, non-dedicated roads. I don't know if these roads that where the subdivision is are non-dedicated or dedicated. And that's sort of a, they're not dedicated.
There's a few that are dedicated.
Yeah, there are some, and Mr. Shea can probably talk about this because he was on the county board. I actually, when he was in the county board, I was representing the county board. And this issue of non-dedicated roads has been a thorn in the side of everyone for the last, since I've been here, even before that. And it's a very complex issue, but the highway commissioner may have some authority because there are MFT funds which can be used to help non-dedicated roads that were constructed prior to 1959. So if your subdivision was constructed prior to 1959, he may have some authority to help you out. It's possibly some funds, but I'll tell you, just from knowing what the township's MFT funds are, it's a very small amount.
I'm a certified non-dedicated road representative for my neighborhood. I'm totally familiar with that road.
Okay.
The problem is my road, the only thing you could do is scrape it down, put a new base in the new road.
But
I can't have another plow come down because it'll take the road away.
But when it's scraped down, there's always the possibility that you could have access to those pipes that you're talking about.
Yeah,
Right. I mean, I think you gotta maybe think outside the box.
Yeah, I skipped over, didn't mean to, skipped over, she's not finished on her discussion regarding the reconfiguration of the office space. So let her go back to that. Because I apologize for that. Go ahead.
I would like to make a motion to move Road and Bridge to Building 6 and to move all of the records to the Township Admin Building here.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Yes. So when you say that you want to make a motion to move Road and Bridge, does that mean, the entity itself, the headquarters? Does that mean all it and all of its assets, every bit of its property? Because I can tell you right now, that's not going to fit in 6 feet. The Salt Dome itself is not going to fit in 6 feet. So it's not a physical possibility to move the entire Road and Bridge entity into Building 6.
And he can go, I will make a motion to move him into other buildings. I make any other buildings besides a building of his choice or buildings of his choice.
Are you talking about the administrative portion?
Correct. The administrative
That's
portion.
different than moving everything.
I would like to make a motion, correct, to move anything administrative, thank you, from Road and Bridge to Building 6 and have all the records here at the township.
Does that include, so is that 2 different motions or that's the first
I just
motion?
made a new motion.
Okay, so then you have to rescind the first. It's already been seconded and it's discussed. So you have to rescind
I'll rescind the first
and
motion.
then,
You agree?
Yes.
So I think we want to make it clear, what you're saying is that main building here is where the highway commissioner, who we're talking about, his office, or this office, you would move that to one of the other building 6, and maybe another building as well.
Correct.
Okay. And then the clerk's record keeping will be moved to
That would
here.
include, well,
Well, I mean, you have to move something, would be moved to this building, so all the records would be kept here.
Correct.
Okay, that's your motion.
Yeah, I think
is
it's
there
a
a
great.
second?
Yes, second. I think that's a great opportunity for Andrew to be closer with his employees. I'm a manager at Coilcraft, and I can tell you that 3 times my team has been moved, and I said, well, I'd rather stay here. I like it, and I was told, you know what? You'll perform better as a team if you're together as a team. And so I think that that's a great idea, and I fully support anything that's going to help our clerk get out from under that burdensome pile, and whatever we can do to help, which also stops us from getting FOIA lawsuits. So I'm in strong favor of
I have to say that if you look at our new budget, we, as the supervisor's office is also taking over part of the bus services, okay? And so, I mean, you're talking about something I think would be, if you were to do this, this has to be thought out. I mean, just to go ahead and do something without, measuring, and I'm not some expert in building management, but I will say this, it is nice. Our clerk was in last week, and she had some time, and we talked, and we had some good discussions and went over ideas, and there have been meetings with our township road district person as well, that it's been very helpful that they've been in the same building. And sometimes you just pop in and you can get some things done. So I'm just saying that there's advantages and disadvantages to doing these type of things. And I don't know what kind of time frame you're talking about it. I think it would be better to have some type of, and I hate to use a consultant or something, but something that we make sure that these.
I'd like for it to happen with the new fiscal year. I'd like it to happen with the new year coming out, because there is quite a controversy between them being separate entities. And I believe that the road and bridge needs to stay a separate entity. And a lot of people think that the road and bridge and the township are the same entity, and they are separate. And I feel all the records need to be here. And road and bridge, he needs to have his office in building 6.
every bit of evidence tells me, and I see it, is that the road commissioner has done everything to separate himself from us. And you know what? He needs to be with his people and helping them. And he has his own website. He has his own phone number. He has his own staff. And you know what? He needs to be out of here. This is Algonquin Township, and we're gonna have him.
My concern is, what will it cost because of all the installation electronically and everything else on, and,
There's already offices in buildings.
pardon me?
There are already office space in building 6.
I have
And
internet, phone, and
an
space.
internet, phone.
Not that, the road district. You gotta move everything out of that office.
Great.
It's right, they've already got, there's internet access in there, that's where my scanner and computer and all that is in building
In
6.
this other building? Okay.
Okay, so I have some concerns. First of all, I think that the motion is too ambiguous. It's completely too vague. Just like Supervisor Letza just said, and possibly maybe another building. That's incredibly too vague. This, like Chuck Supervisor has said, it's something that needs to be thought out and planned out before you just before we just agree on making an motion to completely move an entity that's been in a specific office where residents know to walk into and have done so for more than a quarter of a century. Actually, more than probably half a century now. When was this building built? I digress. My second point is, I think that it would require construction to accommodate which I don't see in the tentative budget in the general town fund, because as you were very clear to state, the property is owned by the township and not the road district. So township would be responsible for all of the construction to facilitate whatever kind of accommodations and changes would need to be made to accommodate the road district's office as well as his staff, including the office staff and their multiple computer setups and equipments. Then every time they need a copy, are they going to have to walk into this building and use the copy machine in the main building? There's just it's too ambiguous. And lastly, and maybe even more importantly, is that I've gone into that office several times to in the performance of my duties, and I've probably every single time that I step into that office, there is a resident, an Algonquin Township resident that stops in asking a question or asking about brush pickup or asking about cherry yoga or asking about whatever, and they know to go into this office because that's where it's always been. And they talk to Dorothy's, and they talk to, excuse me, point of order.
Let her speak, please.
And so now I think it's incredibly dangerous to have the majority of which are not exactly, are many of whom, I should say, not the majority, many of whom are elderly folks who are interested in the services that the program is, or that the road district is offering. Having them now changing it into, where do they go? We don't even know. You're making a motion to move them, but we don't even know where. And into an area which is where there's fuel tanks and forklifts driving around and heavy machinery. I think it's just an absolutely ridiculous proposition, and I can't support it.
My office.
Okay. Yes. Do we roll call vote?
We're not sure on next week, sorry.
Any more discussion?
Victor?
Yes.
Chapman?
Yes.
Shay?
Yes.
Bledsoe?
No.
Lawrence?
No.
Motion carries.
Some of the $400,000 legal fee.
Yeah.
Don't forget the attorney.
Okay,
Attorney fees.
You guys vote on the water, the yea, nay, for the water resolution?
Yeah.
You motioned and seconded, you never voted.
Yeah, they,
Okay.
I'm sorry, motion carries.
Okay, great. We
And
need
then,
to-
sorry, before we move on, I'm sorry to interrupt. You said it was 6 or 6B? I can review the
Building
meeting.
6.
Okay, thank you.
They're building
We need to make a motion to go into executive session. If I could get a motion for a purpose of legal
For this purpose.
litigation. So moved.
Could we have a break and I can talk to these people so they don't have to stick around for all this?
Okay. We're gonna, I'm gonna make a motion that we take a 15-minute break.
Rescind your motion.
Yeah, I'll rescind my motion.
Let's have a motion at a 15-minute break.
I move. Oh, good drive.
Second, all in favor?
Some people are just disgusting personalities. Maybe that's me. You're like a water business.
I'm just saying that. Right?
I know.